What's up, guys? On the Fly is back again tonight. It is Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. And for those of you like us that don't have a life, we like to sit around and talk about guys in makeup playing that have been playing into their 70s. But tonight, the uh, the subject is our top five moments in KISStory. Yes, KISStory, Kissmas, whatever you want to call it. Um, so this is what we think our top moments are, not exactly what the consensus would say or what everybody would say. Oh God, you don't know what you're talking about. This is our personal favorite top five moments in
And
history.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a famous. It's something that we saw that maybe Stevie didn't see. It's, ours.
No, and it could be moments you had with with the band, and maybe later on it'll be kind of personal moments like maybe
Oh, it's not a
get.
personal moment. That's what my list is,
Oh yeah,
Stevie.
well that's personal. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean I don't know
Not
how.
not like the personal when you went backstage that one time. We won't talk about that.
Yeah,
That's another
definitely,
show. Yeah.
definitely. Um, but yeah, so tonight, before I could even introduce him, of course, you know who he is over there, the bald headed wonder Warden. Check out that T-shirt too. Is that pandemic Paul or
No,
is
this is
it
like Asylum era. This is not Asylum. This is like Dynasty
wow
Paul.
makeup on?
That's Dynasty Paul, right? With the purple.
Yeah, that looks like Dynasty Paul. Where'd you
Yeah.
get that from?
I got it from Walmart.com. Operators are standing by. Walmart.com. Pretty cheap too. So I think it's licensed. I don't know. It could not be. If it is not, Gene will be getting me a cease and
Yeah,
desist letter.
Gene. He lives at. I'll give you his address after the show.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah.
Tuesday night, Stevie. Do you know where you're at?
Where are they at tonight?
Hmm. No, I said it's Tuesday night, Stevie. Do you know where you're at?
Oh, I know where I'm at. I'm in the
You're
big
in
metropolis.
you're in the flight, baby.
I was gonna see. Uh, so
Tell you,
for those of you that have been under a rock or anything like that, because me and Warden, the reason Warden joined us on the show was through Kiss because we're both such big Kiss fans. But unless you've been under a rock, Kiss is doing their end of the road tour, countdown to the Kiss final show, December 2nd at Madison Square Garden, and you've got now right here now, 24 days, 23 hours, 53 minutes, and 13 seconds to the final show.
this brought to you by Kiss Online.
Where if you order something from there, you will get it maybe a month or two later after it comes out for everybody else on Amazon. Been there,
I
done that.
No, I mean I ordered. What did I order from them? I thought I ordered something from them. No, I ordered the Lick It Up thing. That's right. It's not coming out to December, so it's
Yeah,
like okay.
it'll be
I think
December.
I'd
December.
for, I'd forgotten about it, and I got some kind of email reminder for. Oh, it's been a while since you gave to the Gene and Paul Fund. It's like
Oh yeah,
okay,
they sent me. Probably got
yeah,
that today, didn't you?
yeah,
I got
yeah,
mine today. You
yeah,
you haven't been here in a while. I said, yes, I have. I ordered Look It Up.
yeah.
But yeah, I've done it over and over ever since they started with the box sets and all the soundboards. I've been
Did you
ordering.
get the Creatures one? Did you get the Creatures
Yeah,
box set?
I got the Creatures one.
I got the Destroyer one. It's like over there on my counter. I still haven't opened it up, but it's like, do I
Oh
want
yeah,
it?
you
But it
can't
keeps
see that.
going up and down. It went down to like 100 something, went back up. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
hell? It's like,
you really need to open that up one night. Maybe we need to do that one night on here because both of us have it. Both of us have the Destroyer one. The Creatures one, maybe I need to do that one too. I'm looking at it right over here right now. I'm kind of eyeballing it. But
you haven't opened it up yet? The Creatures one?
yeah, oh yeah, oh gosh, yeah, I looked all through it, dude. It was like a look. You talk about favorite moments, but that took me back to the days when you got the albums like for Christmas or your birthday or whatever. Because we didn't have a lot of money back then, and to get Kiss albums,
I don't have a lot of money now, Steve.
I don't either. But I mean, getting an album back then was, especially a Kiss album, was like if
And that was the old days. You just didn't have one or two songs there. We had to listen to the whole album.
Yeah, you listened to the whole album too, and I'm gonna sound like the grumpy old man, and you liked it, you loved it. But
yeah, it's kind of funny. I was listening to In Excess, that album review that the guys did on, and I was listening to it, and I was like, God, I didn't ever know that song that came after it was the one where
cover song.
No, it was a song that they did that came after New Sensation. Or not New Sensation. One of the songs, it was like another one where he's holding the signs in the video. They were talking about it.
Oh gosh, yes.
And I always hated that part. And I was like, God, they ruined that song by putting it up on there. And I never really listened to anything past that on Kick.
Meditate.
Yeah.
On it. I was like, no.
I never really listened to that. And then I listened to the whole podcast, and they were doing Never Tear Us Apart. I go, that was on that album? I thought it was on the next album.
You know what? I was never, I never bought an NXS cassette or anything like that.
I had it, but I never listened past that Meditate song, okay.
I liked Never Tear Us Apart is a great song.
Devil Inside, that's my favorite. I love that song.
Well, that's pretty good too. Billy Burgess, thanks for the like, buddy. Appreciate it.
But back then, we listened to the whole album.
Yeah, you didn't just you didn't just look for the star beside like an Apple or something like that. You had to listen.
We couldn't go back and I'll just go listen to something else because we had our tape collection, and it was our newest in a collection. Well, I want to give it a time, but I don't have the attention span nowadays to do that. I listen to. I remember the new Jericho came out. I listened to it once. I liked it. The new Stones album, I liked it.
Right.
The new Metallica, I liked it. But I don't do what I did when I got, the Black album or, Master of Puppets. I don't. You just don't. I don't have that. There's so much. It's like TV. Oh, the ratings are down. Well, yeah, there's so much options out there for people to watch.
Actually, what about the new Dokken album? You listen to that? I have not listened to it yet. So don't, I will be listening to it soon, but I have not listened to it yet.
It's kind of like on that another Shout Out Loud reference when Tom's sitting there just talking about how great the new Duff McKagan album is. Sonny's like, "Oh my God, that's horrible." Sounds like us.
And I haven't listened to that yet. That's got to be. I got to put that on my list too.
Is George Lynch on this album, or is it just Dokken and his crew?
I'm not sure. I don't think he is, but I may be wrong. But I've definitely, that just came out, was it last Friday? So.
I own one Dokken album, and it's a vinyl. It's Tooth and Nail. It's because my buddy gave it to me, and it's like, okay, I like some stuff, but I'm not a Dokken I've seen him in concert, But,
you're not a Dokken.
All right.
You're not a Dokken.
Yeah, and how appropriate. I see him with Ace. It was Graham Bonnet, Dokken, Ace, and LA Guns. I like the LA Guns and Graham Bonnet. I'm not a, Ace isn't my favorite. Dokken isn't really my favorite, but LA Guns and Graham Bonnet kicked ass though.
Okay. Which version of LA Guns? What, number 3? Or
it was with Phil and Tracy.
Well, and we had talked about this. Steve Riley, he used to be the drummer for LA Guns and Wasp, passed away a couple of weeks ago.
That guy always looked like he was sick, man. He looked like he was an old man, even
he looked like he could be in the Rolling Stones and fit right in.
I don't know. Keith may look a little bit better.
But anyway, we
rest in peace, brother. I loved LA Guns. They're one of my favorites. So,
but we were talking. We had already planned this the subject of this show out, and then today I sent Worden a link to a ultimateclassicrock.com article. Paul Stanley names his 13 favorite guitar players. And if you think Ace is up here, then guess again.
It's like I told you, I'm not a fan of if they ask Axl, who's your good? Oh, I like Slash. He's in your band. He's not going to do that because
some of them have to say that because ego problems. Oh yeah, if he didn't say it, especially back. Can you imagine? Let's put the shoe on the other foot back in the 90s, early 90s, and a news reporter asked Slash, who's your favorite vocalist singers around? And he didn't say actually.
Not Weiland.
Can you imagine what I mean, while they were still in Guns N' Roses, can you imagine what Slash would? I mean, what Axl would do?
Well, it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, we've all seen Extreme Close Up. Paul talks about how, I mean, I think he even pissed Ace off. It talked about how he didn't get any, he didn't progress, and he was capable of so much more.
Well, he was, and look, Ace is my favorite Kiss member, but Ace was capable of a lot more than what he did.
Oh yeah, I think we all are.
Well, yeah, but if you got that chance like he had, don't blow it like
on
that.
A card game.
Yeah, he's gonna play.
I will defend my boy Paul on this. Every guitar player he mentioned on there is better than Ace, so he got the list right.
Well, it just depends on what you like.
I'm kidding. I'm just razzing you. No, it's subjective. It's subjective.
I mean, that's all in what you like. Just like I said. I mean, I ain't gonna.
I was really impressed though with the Nancy Wilson. I love Nancy Wilson. I'm not a musician.
Yeah, let's go.
But I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Because I mean, I think that was. I don't think she gets the praise that Ann does. I think she's great. Yeah.
Well, let's go through this list because it's a different list. I mean, it's
great and great looking.
Yeah. So first of all, he's got B.B. King. He's got the three Kings: B.B. King, Freddie King, and Albert King. Now I knew about B.B. King, but I didn't know about the other two. Did you?
No. They're all blues guys. I know that.
Right. Yeah. Jimmy Page, of course, and he,
of course.
If you remember, you talking about Extreme Close Up. Paul did mention that him and Ace were both big Jimmy Page fans, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but Paul was talking about. I mean, he saw those probably saw B.B. King, and I mean, he saw them when they were playing. I mean, he's quite a bit older than us too, so you got to realize that.
You got to realize Paul's in his 70s.
Yeah.
Pete Townsend from The Who.
Don't get that. I'm
not a big Who fan.
I'm not a fan of the guy himself because he's and he hates Kiss because do you remember that in that movie Detroit Rock City when at the end when they're doing Run at the Devil they wanted to play Won't Get Fooled Again, but Pete Townsend wouldn't let them do it because Kiss is a joke. Roger Daltrey even talked about it. He's just an ass, but he's a guitar player evidently. So
if they act like that, don't you think with Paul they would stop playing that? In the middle of Lick It Up, they always do that.
Who?
Yeah.
Well, they used to play it at the beginning of the show before Led Zeppelin.
Before every show.
Nah.
Now, okay, and then he goes to Richie.
Who's the alcoholic now, Stevie? At least I put mute on there.
Dr. Pepper.
You know how much sugar that has?
Yes, I do. I'm looking for a sugar rush right now. Then he goes to Richie Havens. I'm not familiar with
Richie Havens or Richie Valens?
Richie. Really, dude.
Richie Valens was a badass. He would have been great if he would have lived.
Richie Havens.
I don't know who that is.
I mentioned him earlier as someone I took notice of, and it's with good reason. If you want to be a great rhythm player, I urge you to watch Richie Havens. But you really have to listen closely and understand what he's doing because it's just so incredible.
I don't know him.
I don't know him either. Steve Marriott from Humble Pie. I'm familiar.
Yeah, I knew that. He's a big Humble Pie fan.
There's a lot of
Humble Pie is pretty badass. I mean,
if
was listening to him.
Wasn't Peter Frampton in that one time?
Yeah, Peter Frampton was. And then that Humble Pie, listen to that, and it's like, man, if I would have been older in the 70s, 60s, I would have been in that band.
With one called I Don't Need No Doctor. That's pretty, and Wasp covers that song on that Inside the Electric Circus.
You're putting Wasp next to Humble Pie.
Yeah, dude. Blackie Lawless, Tracky Lawless.
Wasp is worse than Dokken, bro.
I know that. I'm
very well aware of that. I would go on a Dokken cruise before I'd buy a Wasp album, dude.
For some reason, back in the day, my brother bought the Wasp Inside the Electric Circus cassette.
That explains the problems with you today, Steve.
And played it in the car when we were, and I was like, "What?" But I remember hearing, "I Don't Need No Doctor," and I was looking. It was.
Don't they have a song about Texas, Blind in Texas, or something like that?
That was another album there. That was Blind in Texas. Yeah, I thought they were talking about Ozzy Osbourne for a second.
And I just remember that guy's poor mom in that Decline of West's Civilization, Chris Holmes.
Yeah.
And that guy, and he cheated on Lita when she was in her prime. Like, what the hell, dude?
Alcohol can mess you up, buddy. I guess cocaine's a powerful drug too. like Rick
But
James.
he wasn't even a cool drunk like, Duff or, Slash. He was an ass, evidently.
Had to be. Okay, then he goes to Malcolm Young.
Of course, that's a good rhythm. Well, yeah, he's a rhythm player. Malcolm Young. Yeah, Angus gets all the love. Malcolm, rest in peace.
Everybody always said Malcolm was the unsung hero of AC/DC.
You notice how they really haven't, I mean, they did an album, but they really haven't done much since. It's like, I don't think they have they don't have that leadership with Malcolm anymore.
Are they getting ready to do something now?
There's rumors, but who knows?
About a new album coming around. Imagine that. That'd be 2 in the last, 5 or 6 years?
I wish they tour. I'd like to go see them one more time.
I thought I heard they were going. Well, I think they're playing festivals or something.
Yeah.
Jimmy easier on his list, which
Hendrix. Oh yeah, of course, got to be.
He's on there.
And I don't care what anybody. People. I read some article the other day, or I read some article, doctor's office. Like how Paul would say.
Oh, here we go. Exposed.
He was talking about like, well, Kurt Cobain's overrated. Jimi Hendrix. I go, no. Kurt Cobain, yeah, Nirvana was in the right place at the right time. Jimi Hendrix did shit that they're still figuring out to this day. I mean, that guy was, would he have been a burnout if he would have lived? Who knows? But my God, talk about a genius, and that's somebody that can't get enough love. No matter how many live albums they find in a dad's basement, every year. Oh, we found this live album over here. It's like every other year. Like, damn, dude.
So next is one Neil Young.
I like Neil Young.
Not a fan. Not a fan.
What, Stevie? You don't like Southern Man?
Who?
That song Southern Man that pissed off Leonard Skinner. They did that thing back and forth.
Even before I knew about that Southern Man,
I like Neil Young. I don't really care for his folk stuff, but I like it when he did like Downtown and Mirrorball. I like that heavy shit and Rockin' in the Free World. I like that Neil Young.
Yeah. Paul Casa from Free, which if you don't know who Free was, they did All Right Now.
Listen to the song Hotter Than Hell. That pretty much rips off All Right Now.
Yeah.
Paul admits that was a big, everybody knows Free with Paul Rogers, but great band.
Yeah. And then this was a surprise here. Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac.
No, I see that.
But look, let me tell you, I talk about this song all the time. Silver Springs, Fleetwood Mac did it when they did it live when they got back together. You listen to him and that guitar solo. That's just one of the songs, but he does stuff on that guitar solo that just amazes me. And
he's always been my favorite member of Fleetwood Mac. Before she died, of course, him and Christy McVie, they did a tour together, and they played a Majestic Theater here.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a lot of Fleetwood Mac, but they did a solo album together. Those two, if you haven't picked it up and you like Fleetwood Mac, I think it's Buckingham, McVeigh Buckingham or something like that. But man, that was a great album. But I've never seen Fleetwood Mac, but I love Lindsey Buckingham.
They just came out with I guess it got released not too long ago. Fleetwood Mac did Rumors live back in the late 70s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm getting more into Fleetwood Mac. My daughter is a big Fleetwood Mac fan.
I grew up with that and Foreigner and Rod Stewart with my mom, so that's like the shit.
Foreigner. Yeah. Foreigner.
We all have a history with Rod Stewart, don't we, Stevie?
Yeah.
And with your mom. That's so funny.
He's banned. Nancy Wilson finishes up the list, which was very underrated. Doesn't get a lot, like you said earlier.
Speaking about getting back together, they made up. They're going to go on tour.
They're going to get back together. Hopefully, they'll do some new music too. But yeah, maybe at least one more time. And it's sad to say this with like all these groups that we grew up with. Just like you said with AC/DC earlier, I'd like to see them just one more time because you don't know. You don't know how many more times you're going to get to see these guys.
You know how long ago it's been since I've seen AC/DC?
Probably
it was the day before my Cowboys beat your Steelers in the Super Bowl. It's been too long.
That's mid-90s.
Yeah. It's been too damn long.
So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting with Paul Paul had put his list out, and of course, no Ace up there, but he didn't put Tommy Thayer up there either because the Ace cult would have really.
If it would have been anybody, it should have been Bruce.
Oh, I agree. I wonder. I mean, I wonder how he would rank if he did an honest to God and putting all feelings aside, how he would rank all the guitar players that he played with in Kiss.
You'd have to put it. You'd have to put Ace first because Ace is the most iconic, and it started with Ace.
Well,
I say that. That's what I say.
But I'm talking about as far as how he felt talent-wise, who he thought was the best guitar.
Oh, that would definitely be Vinny. You know that, or Mark St. John.
I don't know about talent-wise. I mean,
I'm kidding.
It's just like what did Gene say on Extreme Close Up? He was trying to impress me with how many chords he could do with his fingers, and he said, "No, just want to."
Or that's the one where they were doing Animalize.
Yeah.
And he said that Mark St. John had like these great things, but he could never remember stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you need to be able to play it like Clapton or Hendrix. Well, I can play faster than those guys because everything in the 80s was about that.
It was all about fast. And
I think that's why I was never a Dokken fan or like an Yngwie fan. It's just, Metallica's about as much as I got to that fast stuff.
I didn't really think Lynch did. Now, the first time I listened to Yngwie, that was, oh my gosh, it was just like
I never got it.
My brain was just going, I can't keep up with this stuff. But Lynch wasn't like fast like that with Dokken. Not that I remember, but
ladies and gentlemen, Lynch is so much better than Lynch Mob. It just blows anything Dokken did away. Except maybe It's Not Love. That's a great song.
Here we go. So before we get started, some
I'm trying to get some comments going for us, Stevie. Get some feedback from our fans.
I haven't seen, and like I said, sometimes these comments.
You notice I said fan, not fan.
Yeah, it's our fan.
Our fan.
We did have somebody else like the show, Robbie Browning. Appreciate that guy. He's always one to like.
Didn't Steve Wright agree with me about Dokken that he thought Lynch Mob was better?
I think he did.
Yeah.
So before we get into the Kiss stuff, and we're going to break off a little bit of the Kiss stuff, I want to get your thoughts on this. So really, in the last 2 days, I mean, we've been hearing it on and off for maybe a year or so, but really in the last 2 days, the Bon Jovi reunion with Richie Sambora is really starting to get a lot of fire under it. I'm wondering, my opinion, he should do it. I mean, I know Sambora saying it's time to do it. There's a Bon Jovi documentary getting ready to be filmed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm sure, I would hope they would want Richie to be a part of that. So, Bon Jovi, I'm going to tell you this. I was a big Bon Jovi fan from 78 Fahrenheit on till, gosh, I don't even remember what album really turned me off of them. But
the last
one was depressing.
I was a Bon Jovi fan. I heard, of course I was kind of late to the, I heard, Shot to the Heart, You Give Love a Bad Name. Then I went back and I listened to them and I even had in high school, I had the nickname Jason Bon Jovi because I had like the Ric Flair mullet. I don't know why Jason Bon Jovi.
What happened?
Yeah. I lost my hair, and I still got the great looks.
I lost my hair.
Yeah, and I even yelled it when I graduated. Jason Bon Jovi.
JBJ.
And we had I was a fan up until Have a Nice Day. That was probably the last one because I remember I liked that one. Okay,
that one I could deal with that.
But man, in this tour, if they get back with Richie, I hope they do 70. I hope they do their first 4 albums and that's it. Nothing past that, and I'm fine. Maybe a couple off Keep the Faith, and maybe a little bit off the one Something for the Pain. Yeah, Something for the Pain.
Hey, let me tell you, These Days was a good album.
This stuff nowadays, man, I tried, Stevie, man. I just, man, it's just bland, bro.
The last album he did, he tried too hard to be. He wanted to be Bruce Springsteen.
Wow.
You know, it just doesn't work. I know. Look, I know he's up there in age now. You can't have 60-year-old guys talking about partying and doing all that crap, or writing new songs about that anymore. But don't sit here and talk and write a song about, people dying and all this stuff, and people getting.
Why can't he go back to the stuff he did, like Blaze of Glory and stuff like that, like Miracle? That's a great Miracle's a great song. Write shit like that.
Oh yeah, I love Miracle, but you can't be put a Bon Jovi album out with depressing crap on it. There was nothing on that album that was upbeat or anything to me.
Really? Yeah, I tried to listen to it, like This House Is Not For Sale or This House or something. What was it called?
No, this was
it was horrible.
This one was what was it called? 2021. It was the last one, I think. Hold on.
Don't be telling your boy Mitch about that, man. He loves Bon Jovi.
Well, I mean, I think I may be wrong. I think me and him had a discussion about 2020 was the name of it. And I mean, it was not good. I mean, anybody out there, unless you got Bon Jovi blinders on, can tell me that was a good Bon Jovi album.
I don't know, man. It was kind of like Sonic Boom and Monster for me. I wanted to like it. I wanted to like
them too, but I just can't do it. There's some up there. Okay, here's the name of Limitless. Do What You Can. American Reckoning. Beautiful Drug. Story of Love, and it's not for that old song. Let It Rain. Lower the Flag. Blood in the Water. Brothers in Arms. Unbroken. I mean, where is Only Lonely? Where is
they need to do something. They need to, if it's just him writing the songs, they need to get Desmond Child back or something, man.
Well, I don't think it's been right since Richie left as far as songwriting, bud.
It was broken before that, bro.
I don't know. Maybe Richie was just
the thing about Richie, and if I was John, I've always been a Richie fan. He's always been my favorite in the band.
I agree.
But just to walk out on the band, and I know he had his shit going on, but they were in the middle of a tour.
Yeah,
you don't do that, bro. I mean, and they were very gracious about bringing him back to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I thought that was very cool. But if they don't bring him back, I don't blame them.
That was,
because you look at who's still there, Brian, Tico, right? Tico.
Yeah,
and that guy that's been playing with them for a while, and that bass player. I mean, it's like the Stones. The Stones were going to bring so and so back. I mean, no. I mean, you got a job there. That guitarist has got a job. I don't know. People want to see it. I don't know.
I've never understood the whole, because Hugh, the guy you're talking about that's been there so long, Hugh McDonald. How they had him playing in the studio, and then why don't you just let him go on the road with you instead of keeping that, and God rest his soul, Alec John Such, keeping him out there. If you didn't think he could play in the studio, don't put him in front of a live audience. I mean,
what was the deal with that? Was he couldn't play, or?
That's what they said. But you know what? Stryper did the same thing with
that's another great band.
With Timothy Gaines. Remember him?
They should fire the whole damn band.
Oh, you don't like Stryper?
I don't. I never did.
Really?
Honestly, Stevie, I never did.
Honestly, I'm not calling on you.
Good one, dude. Like Marv Albert from downtown. That was a good one.
But yeah, hopefully this will happen. Hopefully Richie will be back with the band in some way.
But neither one of us will go see it. It'll be for the house. Oh. I guess there'll be housewives. They'll be grandmothers by now, I guess.
Yeah, they'll definitely be.
I had a chance to see them on Bad Medicine with Skid Row, and I didn't go, and I still kick myself because that's like one band I wanted to go.
They were in their prime right there, bud.
I saw Skid Row with Pantera. That was a little bit different, but that
was definitely different than seeing Skid Row with Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And before we get one more story to talk about, Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson is going to star in an ABBA tribute band horror movie. He will be playing the singer Bjorn. It's what did I say? What we call Bjorn of the Dead? Yeah,
I got my
fool.
I got my tickets for Iron Maiden a whole year from now. Next year. Maiden's one of my favorite. I'll go check it out. Have you ever that speaking of Born of the Dead, have you ever seen that one movie, not Dawn of the Dead, but the what was the one? It was like kind of the joke. It was like a joke of the dead. It was
Night of the Living Dead.
No, it was a joke. It was a Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead, yeah.
That's a great movie. That dude who plays Scotty on Star Trek. It's a great movie.
I don't know who this Facebook user is, but session players are another level. There are people that can play live that can't play in studio, but some of these guys are bad. I agree. I'm assuming that might be Brian Mullen, but I may be wrong.
What was that about?
When we talked about why, like Hugh McDonald,
gotcha.
But yeah,
a lot of musicians make a lot of money by playing in session bands.
Oh yeah.
Like what Nuno Betancourt made more with Rihanna on one tour than he ever did with Extreme, and they had like 2 #1 hits.
With who? Rihanna.
Extreme. Yeah, he made more with Rihanna than he did with Extreme. And Extreme, they had 2 #1 hits. I mean, they weren't a slouch back when you could sell albums.
Yeah,
it's just crazy how it's just crazy how like certain music just I don't know.
While we're talking about Brian's wife Annie, who I've had on the show, country music singer, she cracked the charts. She made
cool.
the charts up here with her newest single, which was
awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, that was big time. So hopefully we'll have him and Annie back on the show soon. So now that we've rambled on for 30 minutes,
ramble on.
Oh, geez.
Are we gonna have to take that out and get sued by Led Zeppelin because it's so?
Yeah, you just got
so close to the original.
Yeah, you sounded just like Robert Plant right here. He said, Brian saying drowning pool guys with high guns made $100K a year, and the lead singer got rich.
That's the same guy that died. Is that their original lead singer died? He was like 32 and he died. He had some kind of unknown heart related thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You didn't know that? Oh, yeah. They did bodies hit the floor because I remember after 9/11, oh, you can't play that. I'm like, oh, really? That song was out before.
But there's a lot of songs you wouldn't. Jeez. If you're going to look for it, if you're really going to look for it, then you're going to find something that's going to.
Yeah, somebody told me the other day, there's somebody somewhere trying to get upset about something. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
It's true. It's true. And they're looking for it, too. Yep. I'm not looking for drama.
It just finds me.
Yeah. All right. So now we get on to the main event.
Ding, 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 ding. Ladies and gentlemen.
Top 5 Kiss moments. What we think our top 5 Kiss moments are.
So we're going to give like an intro, like how we came up with this and stuff. Because, I know my list is going to be, I wasn't a Kiss moment, but it was to me.
Well, to you, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, and anytime we give one of these lists, we tell you guys the same thing.
Okay.
We tell you guys the same thing. It's our list. Feel free. If you disagree, feel free to give us your list. What your top 5 is, or
my number 5. I'm going to talk about it, but man, I'll tell you about it when I do my number 5.
Or you start off. Go ahead.
Okay.
First, since you're right on it.
I got into Kiss like late 80s, mid 80s, I guess, Asylum era. But I remember the first time I saw them had to be when Kiss Meets the Phantom came on the TV. I was 1977. I was 5 years old, and I 78, 6 years old. And I just remember I didn't know anything about Kiss. I just knew they were cool. And I remember Kiss Meets the Phantom was seeing that for the first time is pretty much what introduced me to Kiss. I remember the part that stood out for me was when Gene is walking and those cops are there, and he breaks through that Coca-Cola stand. And I remember just thinking like, oh, wow. And I tell my buddies at school in their kindergarten, whatever, man, and they had that evil guy and stuff. And of course, we didn't know who the hell Kiss was, but I remember just seeing them. I remember the Knights in Satan Service stuff, and I just remember not really knowing who they were, but
Yeah.
knowing who they were, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I remember seeing Paul in a Life magazine, and he was like just like, and it was like I didn't know the music, but I knew, hey, that's Kiss. I knew that. And and that guy that we had on that did his fan edit for
Yeah.
the Kiss Me Phantom, he posted that, and I put it on our All Things Rock and everything. The great edit, how it should have been. It probably would have. It probably would have been a box set or a special release. Gene and Paul would be happy with that, I think. I mean,
that right there.
That's better than anything they did.
Exactly.
But I watched that over there. But seeing Kiss Me Phantom in the Park, I know people. When I went to go see the Foo Fighters movie, I went to go see it at Alamo Drafthouse, and Alamo Drafthouse is like a local theater. I think they're nationwide. But what they do is before the movie starts,
yeah, I know. I remember
they shows like clips of like different kind of movies related to that. Like they'll show Superman, Star Wars, but they showed the intro to Kiss Me Phantom of the Park with the rock and roll night and them on the rides. I mean, that would have been a great video to release for rock and roll night, do like a re-release of it and stuff.
Yeah.
But seeing Me Phantom of the Park and just, and fast forward 10 years later, it's like I had just picked up Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. It was around Christmas time, Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
And I'm at Musicland. And what do I see in the video? Kiss Me Phantom of the Park on VHS. Pick that bitch up too. I played that shit over. I go, oh my God, it's Jack Abbott.
Jack Abbott, yep.
And it was like, wow. And it's just, man, good times. That was my intro to Kiss. I mean, it took me another 10 years about to get back into them musically. But I remember them. And I remember when Motley Crue came out and this kid had Shout the Devil when he was playing it. I go, God, they're trying to be Kiss. I mean, I didn't even like Kiss, but I knew that's where Motley got it. That's, Alice Cooper, of course. But I mean, if people say that Motley didn't rip off Kiss with Mick Mars and the Blood, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that at first I was kind of like, okay, these guys are going to be pretty cool. They're trying to be Kiss. And then they gradually went away from that. But yeah, that'll come up later, and that moment will come up later in my list.
But if you haven't seen that fan edit of the Kiss Me
Phantom, if you want to go,
yes, you need to check it out. It's on our All Things Rock and Hard Rock Metal. I posted that around Thanksgiving, Halloween. But it's great, man.
If you want to go back and listen to the episode when we had Ken Nardi on, it's episode 81. It's been about a year ago we had him on. Almost a year ago we had him on.
It's a crime that is not an official release. That is so good.
That would be so awesome. The only thing, which I'll save that for another episode. So my number 5. Back in the day, you didn't have social media. You didn't have, which I didn't have MTV, which I don't even think MTV was going then. But you see the magazines in there in the store. You see Peter Criss leaves Kiss, and I don't know how I knew it, but maybe it was in the TV Guide or something. But Saturday morning, I was sitting there.
Kids are people too, maybe.
Kids are people too. Watching that, and Eric Carr gets introduced as the newest member of Kiss, and everybody was like, I wasn't upset about it. I mean, I don't know if some people were upset because Peter was out or what, but I wasn't upset when he came out with that Fox makeup on. I was like, that guy is freaking cool, and that my second favorite member of Kiss, Eric Carr, rest in peace. God knows he was taken way too soon, but to see him get introduced that day, that has always stuck with me. And back in, when the reunion tour started and people were doing the tape trading and some guys were selling stuff.
God, that was a great time.
Yeah, I had a guy that I was buying the stuff from, and he had a catalog he sent you. And because he had like, gosh, it was 400 or 500 tapes, but some of them were compilations, and one of them up there had, because you didn't have YouTube then. It had Kiss on Kids Are People Too, and I made sure I got that. And to watch it all over again and see it, Ace is actually in his right mind on a TV appearance, not like Tom Snyder, but yeah, I mean, it was just an awesome dude, and it started my fanboy with Eric Carr from that point on. But yeah, Kids Are People Too.
I remember I remember watching that. I also got I don't know if I ever told you how I got into how I got the Kiss tape drapes and stuff, and I went back and watched a lot of that stuff. Did I ever tell you how I got that?
How?
I was at Sound. Remember, do you have sound warehouses up there?
No, not nearby me at least.
Well, it was like a music land. It was, you could buy Ticketmaster and stuff. I remember they had the Guns N' Roses release party there. It became Blockbuster Music and all that stuff. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine that played in the band. He was more into they were an alternate band, and he knew I liked Kiss a lot. He goes, "Hey man, meet Tommy here," and it was Tommy Pons. He was the guy that did the artwork for Dangerous Toys, because Dangerous Toys is from from Austin. Real little dude and stuff, and he goes, "Yeah, man."
I remember you told me about that. Okay.
Yeah, give me $25, and he burned this it's all this great shit. That. But I remember watching that Kids Are People Too, and I remember Gene. They were like, "Well, how's Peter doing?" "Oh, he says to say hi."
He told me to tell y'all hello.
And Peter's watching the TV. Fucko, I didn't say hi.
I ain't said crap to you guys. I ain't said nothing. I hate you.
Yeah. Because I remember that was a big deal because he came out without the makeup, and I remember that he really pushed that out there to and the thing about Peter Criss is if he just maybe would have done some good music, he may have had a chance, because my God, he was everywhere at that time. Yeah. And I never listened to those albums, but I listened to the Shout Out Loud, and it's I like a lot of disco stuff.
Yeah,
but it's it wasn't that for me.
I'm a Kiss tard, but I can't do the Peter Criss solo albums. Out of Control.
I like about 3 songs. I like 3 songs off his Kiss solo album. That's about it.
Well, I mean, that's different. The ones he did after he left the band. Whew.
Yeah.
Because
he had every chance, because my God, he got all the publicity. He was on a lot of shit. Yeah.
He went back on Tom Snyder. Because the first interview he did after it, he didn't have his makeup on, but he had his back to the camera still. Yeah. But then he came on a bunch of them, and because he had the full beard and everything, he still had the gray hair and all that. But yeah, that was different.
You ever think that maybe Gene and Paul had always kind of watched Ace and Peter, and maybe Paul did a solo album, Gene did a solo album, but Gene and Paul knew that without Kiss, they wouldn't be. I mean, Ace has had probably the best solo career of the bunch, but he's been around for so long.
Yeah.
But with the 4 of them, man, I mean, it's they were dynamite. But I think that's why Gene and Paul have stuck together so long, because they see, hey, Ace and Peter tried it, and they just never even came close to what Kiss was.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think about it too. Gene and Paul were the 2 founding members too. You got that brand, and they didn't always get along, of course, but
that's what I'm saying about Gene is that Paul was smart enough in the 80s to know Gene checked out, but they were still stronger together.
Yeah.
That Kiss, maybe if Gene left, because there was rumors about him leaving, Kiss wouldn't have survived probably without Gene.
There wouldn't have been a Paul Stanley band for long in the 80s.
No.
I mean, there wouldn't have been a Gene Simmons band for long in the 80s.
They were wounded in the 80s. They were okay.
Well,
they weren't the monster they were.
Yeah, they were trying to be like other bands like Def Leppard, Bon Jovi.
Trying to survive.
Yeah, they were trying to adapt. Yeah. And, they couldn't go, just like can you imagine if they kept the makeup on and were playing with the makeup on in the late 80s when it would have worked?
It would have worked or it wouldn't have worked.
Wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, that's like today. I was on a page and they were talking about the Kiss Unplugged, and this guy put on there. I don't know the guy, but I didn't get in a fight with him. But he's going, well, I think putting the makeup back on, it was that worst step they ever did. And I'm like, no, it's like 10 years before when they took the makeup off. It saved their ass because like in the 90s they were done. I mean, I love the Revenge. I really love the Revenge, but they resorted to doing a grunge album, which, I mean, to me, I think, and I'm in the minority on this, but I think Carnival of Souls and The Elder are the two worst albums they've ever done. And that's my opinion, though. I mean, but it's like they were trying to be something they weren't.
Right.
If they just would have stepped to being Kiss, it may have been different. In the 90s, I'm not sure about. The 80s, definitely, but the 90s, I think that horse had run its last race.
Yeah, if they don't do the reunion tour at that time in the 90s, they're in trouble.
Because you even think about the late 80s, but I mean, they had to take Slaughter and Winger on with them, Faster Pussycat. They had to take newer bands to get more of a younger audience. Yeah, the audience loved them once they saw them. Well, but when they put the makeup back on, dude, that was just gangbusters, man. That was them alone.
That hits Hot to Shade tour forever taking off helped that tour more than anything.
Yeah, right? I agree.
Right in the ballot.
Well, because they were supposed to tour the beginning and they waited till Forever came out. Yeah, you're right. Which is sad, is because Hide Your Heart should have been big too.
Yeah, Hide Your Heart should have been a monster hit.
But that's a lot of the Kiss, the stuff like that hurt them with Crazy Nights. It's just a lot of
So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is when I really discovered the band, probably about 10 years later. As you know, I was raised very religious. Explains a lot, I know. And I remember we had to watch these like hard rock these Christian anti-hard rock videos. And I think there was one called Hell's Bells and Why Not Rock. And their biggest mistake to put in front of a teenage boy was actually the lyrics from like Bastard from Motley,
Yeah.
And I remember that thinking, they thought it would shock. Oh my God. This is this is the devil. No, you're a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boy. This shit is, I mean, and I was watching this thing, it was called Why Not Rock or Hell's Bells or something. I tell you what, it had to be Ron Jeremy that was hosting this. The guy had the mullet. He had the freaking handlebar mustache. He kind of looked like Neil Sean does, like in the early days of Journey, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it was like they were talking about this, and they were playing. I remember they played an ELO song, and they were talking, and they played it backwards. The music is reversible.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this is cool. Yeah, and I remember thinking, and then they started playing the shit with Slayer, and they started playing the stuff with Metallica, and then they had Gene on there. And this is around the Creatures of the Night when that Kiss wanted to get arrested. They talked to anybody. It was Creatures of the Night, the best album they've done in years, but nobody gave a shit. And Gene being wanted to be a rabbi, he knew the Bible better than these, and I'll say Southern preachers because I came from Southern Baptist. There's my hometown, Corpus Christi, which is 2 hours away from me. They shut the city down when Kiss played there, like in the late 70s. And I just remember, and Gene was so articulate, he made these guys look like complete idiots. He goes, "Oh yeah, Jesus, you know that Jesus was Jewish, right? Hey dude, I win." He said that in one of the videos. But it's like, God, and I remember then in the 80s, Kiss, anything they could get, they would be on. Like they were on Oprah. They were on shit they wouldn't do nowadays probably because they were more open. They needed the attention. And then I remember just thinking, wow, these guys are great. You know what I mean? And I just thinking Gene is so smart and I was already into AC/DC and shit like that. So it got me into Kiss. It really, it turned me into a Kiss T that day. It had the direct opposite on me. It had, you're supposed to, you're going to burn. And that whole thing in the back of my mind, you're going to burn in hell. But yeah, man, I'll be with Bon Scott and Jimi Hendrix. Fuck yeah. You know what I mean? It was that part of me too. So
That's like telling a kid, whatever you do when they're your kid, whatever you do, don't do this. And you put that in front of it. Just like you, I heard the same stuff that you heard. I mean, I wasn't, as
you
I,
maybe have been as oppressed as I was. You probably
I had
weren't as
more
strict as
freedom
me.
to listen to stuff, but I listened to those that they all talk about the backward mask and stuff. And I remember the ELO one there, and the guy played it, and I was like, wow, this is, but and then I was like, I was like,
And
we
and
gotta
the
get an
Led Zeppelin,
ELO out.
the Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah,
Might as well Satan.
Natos, Natos, Natos.
I remember that we were reading a book one time, and I almost got expelled for this. But there's a part on there where Vince Neil, they're like saying what Vince Neil said in like Nashville. It's like, "Hey Nashville, how you doing? We're just sorry we can't eat all the pussy out here tonight." And of course, me and my buddies are like laughing our ass off. Well, a counselor sees that shit, picks it up from us, man. I almost got expelled. I mean, it's like I got caught chewing gum one time and I almost got expelled. I mean, this was like pretty over the. This is like Detroit Rock City. Remember when that priest is eating the pizza? That was me, dude. That my mom wasn't that way. She was actually cool. It was my dad that was that way. He's like, the devil's body count. You know what KISS stands for?
Yeah, that was always a sore subject there with me when people would say that.
But when you tell a teenager they can't do something, they're gonna rebel. It happened with Elvis. It happened with the Beatles.
Yep. So number 4 for you was just
Why Not Rock is what it was called.
right.
Google if you want to watch something, Google like Hell's Bells or Why Not Rock. I mean, it's just I read this shit and it got me more into the bands because I think at the time Motley was my favorite band, but it made me discover KISS. So thank you, Protestants.
So number 4 for me, and I remember hearing about it was getting ready to happen, and I guess it had already, because you had a little bit of internet. I don't know if back in the day when days of America Online, they had what you would call a official KISS chat room.
Oh yeah,
with the reunion. But then you had KissAsylum.com, which has been around forever. Probably the longest running.
Who ran that, Stevie?
But back in the day, that
was a great website, by the way.
I always check. That was one of the first things I check every day was KISS.
Oh, I'm thinking about Tuku or whatever. That's what
you're thinking about it. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Ha ha, funny.
Hey man, this is because I'm thinking, dude. I mean, that's the first,
Smoke coming out of your ears.
Yeah.
That's why those headphones on, the smoke would be coming out of your ears right now.
Ain't much else up there. No hair, no brains.
But then you started hearing about these conventions going around, and then Peter shows up at a convention and plays on stage with them. So you're always, okay, that was pretty cool.
Wasn't he homeless for a while?
Yeah. Star Magazine made Peter a fortune. But then you got to the point where, okay, they're going to do MTV Unplugged, and Ace and Peter are coming out there to play. And I think that was around Halloween of, was it 96?
95 or 96?
95. And I remember going I went somewhere, I went to a friend's house, and it was like, I think it was going to come on like 10 o'clock that night. And I was like, dude, sorry. Because there was a bunch of people. It was like a Halloween party. I said, about 9 o'clock, I said, sorry, dude, I got to go. So I go home and get myself straight, sit back and watch. And man, I'm going to tell you, when they came out and played Beth and 2000 Man, the first two like that with just the original 4, had chill bumps. And I was like, man, this would be so great if they would get back together again. So great if they could do it one more time. Didn't even think about it back then, but yeah, Unplugged is my number 4 because I sat there watching. I was like, gosh, they've got to do something. It kind of refueled the fire. I mean, I was always a big time KISS fan, but it kind of refueled the fire. and maybe pull out like my old albums and old CDs and start listening to them again. But then I come across the entire uncut, unplugged episodes, and I mean this is like I got it on like there's two DVDs,
I got them too.
the outtakes and everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so great. But that unplugged album, and if you listen to the story, um, they talk. I think I heard Matt Pinfield talk about it. You remember him?
The ball guy, MTV.
Yeah, he did the narration for Second Coming.
Yeah.
Him, and there was a guy named Alex that was a big Kiss fan that worked for MTV. That Alex guy came to him and said, you need to talk to your guys up in whoever was making the decision. Said because they don't want Kiss to do a unplugged. They were like, so they went to his office. They went to that guy's office and started talking to him. Who cares about Kiss? He said, a lot of people do. He said, I guarantee you put that out there, you're going to make a killing. And it's one of the most popular unplugged.
I think it's like the second
Yeah,
after
it's probably behind Nirvana.
Nirvana, or the Eagles or something like that.
I think it's got to be Nirvana unplugged in New York, but and it took off after that. Of course, everybody knows it led to the reunion, but that unplugged that night would be my number 4.
I remember seeing that, and I saw the writing on the wall. I had wanted to see the Revenge tour, but I got canceled. I knew what was happening with music, so I was rocking. There was we had a local channel, used to be back, that was called 99.5 KISS, KISS. Kind of funny, right?
Right.
And they've been around since the early 70s, probably as long as KISS has been around. But they helped break they had some old guys on here that broke like Rush and older bands like Budgie and like Judas Priest and stuff, because San Antonio at one time was known as the hard rock capital, of the world, because everybody would stop here. And they were going, well, KISS is back together. They're going to get back. And this is before it became official. And I know the guy that said this because he was a KISS nerd like me. And he said it, you just wait, they're going to get back together. And this is before it was made. And I knew then it was going to made. I kind of saw the writing on the wall because I got to see them on the, remember the tour before, what was the tribute album?
Kiss My Ass.
Kiss My Ass. They did some dates in I think there's a bootleg of St. Paul, Brazil or something like that. But they also played a thing called.
Oh yeah, I got that. It was one of the first.
They also played La Semana, which is a festival they used to have here in San Antonio. And they played Going Blind. It's one of the only couple places they ever played Going Blind. But I remember seeing that shit. And I'm like, holy shit. And then when they kicked off Unplugged with Coming Home, I was like, there's a fucking reunion coming around, dude. I knew it. I'm the biggest KISS nerds there is.
Yeah.
And I was kind of upset because I respected the makeup. I liked the makeup, but I was an 80s KISS fan. I'm like Jericho. I mean, Revenge and of course, Eric Carr. I put them all together, Singer and Carr, because because it's got Bruce in it. I think that's why. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, God, it was so great. But my biggest bitch about Unplugged is that they didn't release any singles. See You Tonight could have been a single. But why in the hell did they not put Got to Choose on the US release? It's on the box set and I love it. But that is one of the best versions of a great song. I mean, I think that I think they were so focused on hey, shit, we're getting more attention than we ever did.
Exactly.
That they kind of put the Unplugged thing behind them. That was rated by Entertainment Weekly as one of the best, albums of the year.
Yeah.
KISS was finally getting it. It just sucks. They put out one of their best albums in years with the Unplugged, and it gets overshadowed by the makeup. That's his typical non-makeup KISS. It's always overshadowed by the makeup, which, that's what they did. So, I mean, that's who they are. So,
you mean you didn't want the, you didn't want country version of God of Thunder released as a single?
No, but the Hard Luck Woman, that was a pretty badass version by Garth. I loved it. God of Thunder, Bird Country. What is that? Is that
You haven't seen that?
I don't want to see it, dude. No.
Oh yeah, you need to.
No, I'll look at it my own time.
You need to check it out.
It can't be any worse than that. I don't want to miss a thing by Mark Chestnut. Oh my God, the Aerosmith songs were bad enough.
Gene breaks out on the Unplugged. He does a God of Thunder country version.
What about the banjo version of Jump with David Lee Roth?
That was pretty cool.
No, it wasn't.
They mashed it together. All right. So number 3 for you.
All right. 1985, 84, 85. There's a girl. And she's talking about Kiss. I was already into Motley Crue and AC/DC at the time. And she was telling me about Tears Are Falling. I go, who sings that? Kiss. And of course, I knew Kiss from like, God dang, you know. But so I go, and you know, there's this little thing called Columbia House, and all the magazines. Hey, Mom, let's get this and stuff. So I pick up probably, at the time, I thought was probably the worst album cover they've ever done. It was just ugly, but it was typical 80s. Right there, baby.
Yep.
My first Kiss album. And what's better than the front cover? The back cover.
Yeah, with the artist had a solitary
chest. That pepperoni right there at Paul's chest.
Yeah.
King of the Mountain, any way you slice it. Who Wants to Be Lonely? Trial by Fire, I'm Alive. Love's a Deadly Weapon. Tears Are Falling. My favorite, probably one of my favorite Kiss songs in my top 5, Secretly Cruel. I remember going to my dad and going, Dad, what's lingerie? I mean, I'm like 12 years old. My dad's like, what the hell are you asking that?
You want to know what that means?
And I thought it was like a perfume. She wore lingerie. It's like, you know, perfume or something. So I had gotten into Kiss with the devil music and stuff. And there was a song on there. I'm making this kind of a tie here. And I was like, what is that song? And it was I Love It Loud. That was the video they were showing. And, you know, that video still looks badass to this day. You know, that guy's comb hanging out his back pocket. Yeah. He didn't have that to feather their hair, right? You know, I had hair back then, Stevie. But I remember looking for that song, and I couldn't, you know, there's no Google at the time. So I was looking around. I go, this has got to be it. Rock and Roll All Night. Go, that's it. So I buy probably maybe not even a year later, I buy Dress to Kill. To this day, 2 different eras of the band, 2 probably still my favorite albums, probably next to Destroyer, Love Gun. You know, there's so many. But I thought, you know, hey, that's, you know, Rock and Roll Night. And I remember hearing Room Service, and I'm thinking, and, you know, after hearing, you know, at the time, Animalize or Asylum, and thinking, God, these guys are pretty soft. You know what I mean? Because you listen to Room Service or you listen to something off Asylum, it's not as loud in the 70s as it was in the 80s. And I listened to it and got into it. Then I heard Getaway, you know, She, and I mean, I was in the cult, dude. I was drinking the Kool-Aid and everything, dude. With Asylum and Dress to Kill, dude, I was hooked, dude.
Yeah.
So getting Asylum off Columbia House, and then graduating to Dress to Kill. To this day, probably I like every song on both albums.
That's some both sides of the spectrum there, going from one side to the other, pretty much with the Dress to Kill and Asylum.
But, yeah, because I think because the Kiss Exposed had come out around that time, and there was a magazine. Remember the magazine that used to come out?
Yeah,
Kiss Exposed. And I remember I got to go back, and I went back and slowly. I mean, everybody knew Destroyer, everybody knew that, but I just remember seeing the Dress to Kill. I was like, man, they look pretty cool on that. I mean, while they're in suits, that's pretty cool.
You know, back when we were getting the vinyl, and my parents were, you know, they would get us the vinyl and all that stuff. there was one that we always seem for some reason. What's up, Murph? John Murphy. What's up, buddy? Thanks for the like.
Is that Murph?
Yeah, it's Murph. It was one that we didn't ever get, and for some reason, it was never part of my collection till I got it on cassette one year at Christmas, and that was the self-titled, the debut album. I heard all the hits from like double platinum, but when I got that for Christmas that year, and I put it in my Walkman, and I was like, okay, what's this? Kissing Time, love theme from Kiss. That was really I knew Nothing to Lose from Alive, but Let Me Know I didn't know. So that was like opening up a whole new thing for me that year when I wore that cassette out because I've been waiting to get it for a while. I don't know why we never got that one on vinyl back in the day, but
I remember that making no sense to me as why, you on Kiss, and I know that why they did it, but on the Kiss album, how they put the live version of Got to Choose. And it's like, but that came out like 4 years later. I knew that, it was like still one of my least favorite Kiss songs. The whole thing, Got to Choose. It's just what it's about. It's just, there's so many other avenues you can go with. Why that one? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I got to get some Purell on me right now. I'm thinking about it.
Easy. Number three for me. And, I didn't go, the first time I went to see them in concert live, it was on the Def Leppard Kiss tour. I think the Dead Daisies opened up for them. And then
that was the first time you saw Kiss?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Look, you got to remember, I live like, gosh, in the
Dead Daisies were badass. That was a badass show.
Really good. I was glad we got there to see them.
Was Karabi with them at the time?
Yes.
That was Karabi. Okay.
Yes. But seeing them that night, and Def Leppard was okay. Dead Daisies came on first, then Def Leppard, because they were kind of rotating that. I was glad Def Leppard didn't close.
No, they didn't rotate that tour. They were. No, that was Motley and Kiss. That wasn't Def Leppard. Def Leppard said that we're going to open up for Kiss because they deserve that. Yeah, right. That was the whole. Yeah, but Motley and Kiss did it though.
Yeah, that was when they had the Spider stage, and that was so cool. But to hear them, where is that? Where's my set list at from that day? Just had it up here. Anyway, to get to see them, and wasn't great. It wasn't the best seats in the world, but it was outdoors. They played Hide Your Heart live, which I thought was great. And then to hear one of my favorite Kiss songs, I won't say my all-time favorite. I want to get.
Is that where you wore makeup to? That one picture you had out there with your wife?
Or the Ace Frehley makeup. Black Diamond, to see Black Diamond done live and see them go up, and I was like, oh gosh, but getting to see them the first time in concert after all those years, because I'll tell you this, back when the reunion tour started, they were playing the closest, well, not the closest to the game, but my brother comes home, and he was like, him and his friends were like, we're going to get tickets to see them play in Greensboro, which is about 3 or 4 hours away.
Yeah.
And I was like, hello, your brother.
Want to go?
The one that's been a fan the whole time, because he kind of checked out a little bit with Kiss, but when they got back together, he was like, yeah, you can't go with us. And I was like, really? You won't even let me ride with you. It's not like I'm like 12 years old, aggravating brother or anything. I said,
I don't know. In your brother's defense, Stevie, I haven't met you in person, but I can see his point.
I got you.
I'm kidding.
I knew that was coming, but
yeah, it's all out of love, Stevie.
To see him the first time, in concert was really cool, and to say I got to see him at least that one time. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Virginia Beach, where we went to see him, and
is that off the soundboard, the one that was so great?
No, thank God.
That was horrible.
It was 2004, August 8, 2014. I remember the day.
Yeah, it was like 2000. It was like when I saw them on that tour, it was in Houston. They didn't play San Antonio. They played Houston, and I had never seen Def Leppard. And I was like, I got to see Def Leppard. And they played this place called the Woodlands, which is like the richest part of Houston with all the oil money. I mean, it's a nice little community. The hotel was right there. Could walk over to the arena. And I was thinking, oh, this is a chance I'll get to meet them and I won't have to pay $1,000. Wrong.
Right. So here's a set list. So Psycho Circus was the opener. Deuce, Shout It Out Loud, War Machine, Hotter Than Hell, I Love It Loud, Lick It Up. Then they had the bass solo. God of Thunder, Hide Your Heart, Calling Dr. Love, Love Gun, Black Diamond, Detroit Rock City, and Rock and Roll Island. And then
it wasn't as long either because Def Leppard played.
Yeah.
I loved Kiss on there, but I really enjoyed Def Leppard because I'd never seen
Def Leppard was really good that night too. Yeah, that was the first time I had seen Def Leppard too. So
I've seen Def Leppard twice. I saw them with Journey, and that was a tour that they were flipping around.
Nothing wrong.
And I was thinking, hopefully they'll play before Journey. Nope, they had to play after Journey, so I had to sit through Journey. And Def Leppard, they've got to use backing tracks because man, they're great. God, they're great in concert. And we were when I saw them here in San Antonio, not with Kiss, but with Journey. I was right by the stage where Rick Allen. Yeah, they may be using tapes there, but that boy ain't using tapes. And what that guy can do with one arm, it's amazing. Def Leppard. If there was I think we're talking about Heart earlier. I think it was Tesla, Def Leppard, and Heart were playing, and I didn't go to that tour.
Oh, wow.
But I hope Heart goes with somebody like that. But Def Leppard, I don't care if they use backing tracks; they're great live. I love Def Leppard.
Yeah, I mean I noticed that night, listened to them, that they were so on point with the backing vocals. I was like, there is no way they can hit.
Isn't it funny how a certain guy that we listen to every once in a while is such a hard on about Kiss doing it, but bands like Def Leppard, he lets, and Motley, he lets slide. Just won't any names.
What could you be talking about? Anyway,
if you're going to be bitching about everybody, do it. It's a show. It's all about a show. That's what it's about.
And while we're talking about Tesla, I want to throw a shout out to one of our fellow podcasters who, I don't know if you've listened to this podcast or not. It's called My Weekly Mixtape.
Okay.
The host name is Brian Colburn. He used to be the co-host of Playlist Wars, but he had Frank Hannon from Tesla this past week, and I listened to it the other night. He knocks it out of the park. Brian does a great job with that.
What's it called again?
My Weekly Playlist. You see it?
I will check it out. I'm always looking for
mixtape. My Weekly Mixtape. Excuse me.
Oh, mixtape. There it is. A playlist of Gradation podcasts. Okay. I'll check it out.
He's had a lot of good guests on there, and I think he's getting ready to get Uncle Cracker on. But yeah, Frank Hannon from Tesla was on this past week, which was really, really good. I know how big a Tesla fan you are.
Hello.
So I think we're on number 2 for you.
Number 2. Okay. Talk about the Revenge Tour. 1991, 92. I'm around 20, getting close to be 20 years old. A long time ago. And my grandmother, she lived in Dallas. And so my mom at the time worked for Southwest Airlines. So we just, this is the 90s. We'd fly up there and, non-rev and, go up there and visit her. And I told you that story about how I'd go up there on Saturdays to watch the Von Erichs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. How that one time I was on the plane, I met Jeep Swenson. Remember Jeep Swenson, the guy
I do remember Jeep Swenson.
Played Bane in the.
Yes, he rests his soul.
And I remember it's right after Mike Von Erich died, and I was like, "Hey, isn't that sad about Mike?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." And he was a heel at the time. I was like, "I knew it. It was fake," but I didn't say that. But we went up there, and they have a thing in San Antonio called the San Antonio Current. It's like an independent paper that was like shows like gigs playing, people playing, and everything like that. You got that up there like a You know how the Kiss, like they found, was it Ace in the recycler or whatever? It was like a local.
Oh, I mean,
It's like one of those free, those free newspapers.
In the bigger cities, we probably would, but not right here.
Yeah, it's left leaning, Stevie. So I know you pick it right up. But no, we have one called the SA Current, but it was up there in Dallas. And I saw this tour. I saw this advertisement, Kiss Club Tour. I'm like, what? This is like a couple years before. This is a couple years before the internet stuff. So I picked it up, and it was like Kiss. They're playing this place called Austin City Limits. So I had a buddy of mine that went to high school with. He moved back to Oklahoma after we graduated. Oklahoma City's like a couple hours away from Dallas. And I go, hey, Kiss is playing a club on April 30th, 1992, my 20th birthday. What do you say? I'll get the tickets. And this is back when you had to call. Remember those old days when you had to get the rotary dial and shit out, and call. And I got tickets, and it was a club tour. And my grandmother goes, oh, no, where that's at, I'll let you find it. And my leg grabber, bless her soul, that woman drove like a bat out of hell. So I fly up to Dallas. I fly up to Oklahoma City. We fly to Dallas. And we drive down to Dallas. So my grandma takes me over there, and she just like takes off. And my buddy's like, man, your grandma doesn't want to be here, does she? You want us to go home? And it was like on the worst part of Dallas. This is around 92. This is after the Rodney King verdict. Riots are going on.
Yeah, we all just get along.
Yeah, and it was like we were over there, and it was probably on the real bad part side of Dallas. And I remember we were standing in line, and this guy in front of us, dude, had to be Pablo Escobar, dude. Hey, you guys are gonna come party with me, right? After the gig, right? Like, yeah. So we went in, and it was a place called Austin City Limits. It was a little club on Dallas. There was a band. It probably had to be the worst band I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen Rush and Primus together. And it was called Shooting Gallery. They were horrible. I know that people talk about, oh, that was a great, like, no, they were horrible. And it was some guy from some other band. One of the guys was in the Sex Pistols, which explains a lot.
Oh, gosh.
But they were bad. But I remember, and it was Kiss, and it was hot as hell. But it was Kiss, and they did a lot of shit that they had never done. And I remember it was the club tour I'm talking about. It was like they did the Troubadour, they did all these places.
They actually for Headbangers Ball, before that came on, they would all through it. They were doing that.
Yeah, but I got to see that tour, and it was kind of a warm up tour. And I remember saying, "Why isn't Gene doing his tongue? He just didn't do his tongue." He had a bet evidently with the guys that he could not do his tongue in like one show, and I guess he won it. But I mean, it's weird. He did the fire thing, which is so crazy now. I've seen Kiss tribute bands in these clubs, and everybody knows what happened at Great White. But we didn't think about that shit back then. And you remember those doors? You go to clubs and the doors were always chained shut.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fire going out. But seeing Kiss in a club on my 20th birthday, 1992, that's how old I am, ladies and gentlemen. But I remember I went to school that day. I flew up to Oklahoma City. We went to see Kiss. They were great. And I remember hearing they were playing Revenge because Revenge hadn't come out yet. And they were playing I Just Want It. And I was thinking, how are they going to get away with that, putting that on the radio? Because I heard, 20-year-old guy, fuck, you say fuck, it's fuck. But when Revenge came out, it was a whole new thing of Kiss. I loved the album. I loved the Bob Ezrin part of it. I loved I Just Wanna. I loved I'd seen Unholy already. That's the only song I really heard. But they did a lot of deep tracks, and I don't remember the tour thing, but I got a bootleg of it somewhere, and it was Kiss, and you could have seen right now that they were headed back towards the makeup. I mean, it was just the writing was on the wall. Yeah. That's like when I see those things about how how Bruce and Eric were like surprised. It's like they know how. I mean, they knew because evidently Bruce Kulick said that Paul told him back in the late '80s, "Oh, there's going to be a reunion," and that's what freaked Eric Carr out. Because he knew it was coming.
There was I think they said in '89, it was close. They were close to having Ace, but not Peter.
Open up for him.
So, but looking at the set list for like that club tour. Yeah, you talk about going back to the old days. Creatures of the Night, Deuce. Of course, you had I Just Wanna,
Yeah.
Parasite, Heaven's
Yes.
on Fire,
Yes.
Unholy,
Yes.
Domino, Watching You,
Yes.
Hotter Than Hell,
Pretty
Firehouse.
much the Alive 3, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much Forever, I Want You, War Machine, Lick It Up, Take It Off, Rock and Roll All Night, Cold Gin, I Love It Loud, and then Detroit Rock City.
Yeah.
So it didn't close with Rock and Roll All Night.
No, they did not. Because that was kind of weird on the Live 3 how they didn't close with it, you know.
Yeah, it was. But, you know, I remember you talked about that, like with the Headbangers Ball, which was the go-to show back in the day on MTV. You stayed up Saturday nights to watch that. And, you know, just watching that night, seeing, you know, first time I saw Unholy, I think they premiered it on that show that night.
Who was hosting it when it came on?
Ricky Rackman.
No. Who was guest hosting that? Who was along? Okay, Ricky Rackman, yeah. But who was actually on his guest that actually debuted that?
I don't know. Who was it?
It was Slaughter.
Oh,
because I remember it was Slaughter. They debuted Unholy.
Well, maybe it wasn't the night they debuted Unholy when I saw it. Maybe it was just the first time I saw it. It was
Dana Strum and Mark, and they were talking about how it's back to Kiss. Everybody was talking about how heavy Kiss was getting again and stuff. And, you know, I love Slaughter because I saw him like 3 times on that on the Shade tour. Or actually, I saw him once with Poison and twice with Kiss. That's right.
But, yeah, watching that night and, you know, who cares? I was like, who cares about video? Get back to Kiss. I want to see
how shocked were you when you saw that video? Was it – I mean, it wasn't rise to it. It was
shock. It was like –
I was shocked.
Oh, crap. Here we go. I mean, I was like, here we go. And, you know, because you hadn't heard that kind of stuff from Kiss in a long time. I mean, probably since Creatures. But, yeah.
I remember liking the Kiss doing it, but when like Skid Row did it, I didn't buy it. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Well, Skid Row couldn't pull that off.
Yeah, but I like Slave of the Grind now. I didn't like it then because I wanted my Skid Row to be 18 in life, you know. Kiss should have been heavier, and I wish they would have done it sooner. But I love the 80s, so what do I know?
Well, they took a chance, and I mean, everybody talks about what the singles from Revenge wasn't the first 2. Gene, wasn't it Unholy and Domino? And then they did I Just Wanna.
Yeah. What? Okay.
The first one was Gene. Wow.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this on a lot of people asking this. If you had to pick between Creatures or Revenge, who would you pick? What would you pick?
Ooh. That is a tough one there, dude. I'm running the Creature songs through my head because I've already had the Revenge stuff in my head. Gosh,
good question, right?
Yes, that's a tough one. Wow.
I got to go with Creatures. I love every song on Creatures. I don't love every song on Revenge. I don't like those 2 songs. That's the Heart of Chrome, and there's another Paul song on there that they're like 2 alike. No, not Take It. There's another song on there besides Heart of Chrome. I don't like Heart of Chrome, and there's another one, but I like every song on Creatures. Creatures is just so that is Kiss's most underrated album. That is just such a great album. It's a shame it's not up there. Like, you know.
Well,
that's their own fault. Though.
Some people that Tough Love is the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't like those 2 songs.
Tough Love and they
Heart
say
of Chrome.
Tough Love and Heart of Chrome sound a lot alike.
I like Gene's songs on there, of course, Unholy, Thou Shalt Not. But I'm not a big fan of Car Jam because I don't like instrumentals, but it's Eric Carr, so it's still
that's
cool.
The reason that's on there.
But it sounds like that. It sounds like Breakout by It's the Ace.
That's
song.
what it is.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted the whole Take It Off. That was a little. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cheesy, but it's Kiss. So what do we know?
Yeah, that was Breakout, but that was actually recorded, I think, around the time of The Elder.
Yeah.
But they went back over it and let Bruce play the guitar over this recording. So
And I don't get how anybody doesn't like God Gave Rock and Roll to You. I love that song. God, I love that song.
Bill and
I
Ted,
love and I love the video.
yeah. I mean, that was around the time you kind of knew after that too, that with them showing all that
Yeah, and all those videos coming out like Extreme Close Up and Kiss Confidential, all that. Yeah, you knew it was coming.
The one that I remember watching it, because if one came out, I was getting the one that I really thought. And if you watch during the end, it's I don't know if you can find it now. I've got a copy of it, but the Kiss My Ass home video.
Yeah.
At the end, they did what was gonna be the cover of Carnival Souls. You know, the guy with the head.
Yeah.
But Gene's up there talking about the more we look to the future, the more we realize the past is what God. And after,
you won't hear him saying that nowadays, though.
when I heard that, I was like, okay, what is going on with that? Because you hadn't heard that a lot from them up until then. The more we look to the future, the more we realize how important the past was. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's get ready to take off.
You like Carnival Souls, right?
I don't dislike it. There's some songs on there that I like, but there's also some songs up there that I have to skip.
That's. I mean, honestly, probably the last good album Kiss ever did was Revenge.
Well, it wasn't. They don't.
But I mean, I think Revenge is the last album they actually probably. No, Carnival Souls, I think they worked pretty hard on, but.
Well, yeah, I think Bruce and them, like I can listen to Bruce's song on Carnival, I Walk Alone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because I remember, I'll tell you this.
Jungle's good.
We talked about tape trading. And
remember that, how that wasn't released yet and it was on the internet?
I got it. Somebody sent me a cassette tape of it, and I heard it, and I was like, it wasn't the best quality, but when I heard it, I was like, oh, what the heck is this?
It almost had a better mystique when it wasn't released. Like when they released it, it was like, it's just there. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
When it was like, oh, they're not going to release this. This is so great. And then once they released it, it didn't sell. So it's like,
I wonder what was going through their heads though to release it though, even though they knew they were going. I mean, was it just the fact?
I don't think it was. I don't think it was their decision. I think it was a record company thing.
Maybe so. But there's a lot of guys on here as far as the songwriting credits that you don't usually see with Kiss. Scott Van Zen. There's a Curtis Cuomo.
Was he governor of New York?
Jamie St. James, who I think was in
Black and Blue.
Black and Blue with Tommy Thayer. But Ken Tamplin.
Hello, Miss Mystery. Great song, by the way.
Ken Tamplin is
and the guy that did Alice in Chains, didn't he produce it? Mike Klink or not?
Toby Wright.
Mike Klink did Guns N' Roses. Never mind.
Yeah, Toby Wright was one that did that. All right. So that's your number 2.
My number 2.
That was your number 2, wasn't it?
I know. That's what I'm saying. I was just emphasizing what you just said. All
right. Number 2 for me, you talked about it earlier. Man, as a 5-year-old kid, we talked about the TV Guide earlier. I remember.
Were they on the cover of TV Guide?
No, they weren't on the cover of it. But when you'd open up the TV Guide and then you look to the week ahead, and then you see, sometimes they would have like not a recap, but a preview of certain shows are there, and they had a preview of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's coming on Saturday night. It was on Saturday night, and I forgot. I think it was like 8:00 or something like that. It started.
It was Halloween night, wasn't it?
I don't know exactly.
Or it was around Halloween.
It was around Halloween, but I know the date was the same. That our school always had a fall festival, and the school was right across the street from us. So I mean, like right across the street.
So you didn't have to ride no covered wagon and go to school, huh, Stevie?
No, I just walked. But that night, they were like, my mom was like, well, I don't know. You didn't have any VCR or DVR or anything like that. So if you want to watch,
Not even a Betamax, dude. That's how
that
far
you
back it
be
was.
there and be ready. So
Yes.
let me tell you, at 7:30 when we were at the Fall Festival, I'm like, okay, let me go home. I don't care. You just walk me home. As a 5-year-old kid, I said, walk me home and I'll stay in the house by myself. And I think my cousin came and stayed over there with us that night. We watched that that movie, and I mean, it was so. As a kid, you didn't get many chances back then to see Kiss on TV.
No. No.
So when you saw him, and then seeing them as superheroes flying around and doing all this stuff, I mean, I didn't see back then. I didn't see how bad it was. I was just like
It's
happy.
great. It's a classic.
Yeah, and then I think let's see, that was 78, and then it had to be like 85 when we got our first VCR for Christmas. And luckily, I'm sitting there that night, and of course, I had cassettes, and I'm staying up late. Everybody's gone to bed but me. It's like 11 o'clock, and that Friday night, Christmas was on like a Friday. So that Friday night, CBS always did, instead of having like a Friday night, they didn't have the
Late
the
movie.
talk shows like they do now. They had like a movie of the week.
Yeah.
So the news is on 11:15. They go to commercial and they say coming up next on the CBS movie of the week, late night movie of the week, and
Because we couldn't get anything else. Kiss.
Kiss meets the family. I was like, holy crap! We had like 2 blank tapes. We only
Oh,
had two
shit.
blank tapes. I popped one of those jokers in and I recorded. Man, I was like, and I sat there and watched that thing just like a little kid. And I did like you did around the same time you did too. I bought the VHS when it came out like that. But it's a cult favorite. I mean, you can go back right now.
I
I'm
love it. I love it.
I like the original version better than I do Attack of the Phantoms because I guess the cheesy 70s music when during the fight. And I mean, I do like some of the way they put the solo album stuff in there, but some of it doesn't fit. You know, like a fight scene. I think one of the fight scenes is Peter singing "Hooked on Rock and Roll." I mean, come on. But
But when they
yeah.
hit the stage doing "I Stole Your Love," that's just fucking
Oh gosh,
badass. That's just
that is one
that
of
is Kiss at their height.
that is one of the holy grails of unreleased stuff I would love to see is that concert at Magic Mountain that night.
Does it exist or what?
I've never heard anybody say whether it does or whether it doesn't, but if Kiss has got it, they need to release that.
You
Put
know
it out.
the thing about Kiss is that for a band that really records everything, they sure miss a lot of shit. I mean, it's
One of
like
the most
it's
visual bands in
yeah,
the
I know,
history.
and it's just they don't.
They don't put it out. If they would put stuff out like they did back in the day, like I mean,
When they did Kissology, that was great,
Kissology stuff, which I know that's tied up with.
but they don't own that supposedly, I guess, right?
Yeah, the name, but why can't you just put it under a different name? Um, but yeah, you remember you had the was Exposed came out, and then
That was a game changer. Exposed was awesome.
a few years later you had Extreme Close Up. Then you had the
Confidential.
Confidential with the Live 3 concert stuff, and then you had the Second Coming. I mean, they were putting stuff out. Then Kissology comes after that. They were putting stuff out left and right, and
And it just stopped.
then just stop, just like it's nothing. So I don't know if they're waiting. Maybe they're waiting till
Well,
after.
that's what they were saying, that lawsuit that they're going with that Kurt dude. Maybe that's what it is, that they're getting ready to release something. I don't know.
Maybe so. I hope
It's
so.
it's just weird how they wrote the songs, but they don't own the live recordings. I'm not a lawyer, but that's just kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I don't understand that either, but they've it is what it is. I'm just ready to see, when you watch Kiss Exposed and they're going through the basement part or whatever, wherever they got all the stuff at,
Yeah.
and I know it's probably full of crap when you hear them talk about it. We recorded every show. Paul says that we recorded every show from every tour, and I was like, holy crap, would I like to get it in there and just go through that. But you know.
But I mean, watching that Kiss Exposed and seeing them go through that shit, and then thinking about like what 30 years later that everything's on YouTube. A lot of that shit's on YouTube.
Yep.
I mean, it was like when you're talking about, you know, seeing the Kiss stuff on TV. I mean, that was the part of like, you know, yeah, everything's at your exposed, everything's at your hands now. But that was the great thing about going into like a record store and seeing what the fuck is this bootleg from Japan? What is this? You know, what is,
Killer.
you know, and yeah, Killers. Like I had no idea that existed.
Yeah.
And I was at Kmart and it was like, what the hell is this? It had 4 new songs on it. I'm like, this shit's great.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was like, and then I remember getting the Creatures of the Night, the one without the makeup had, well, Bruce doesn't play on this. What's he doing on here? And you know, getting that, I have that somewhere in my Kiss archives. But just, you know, it was, you know, yeah, it's great to have everything. I love having everything on my phone. But there was just something about like when I went to a record convention, they used to have these in the early 90s. And I saw who is this Wicked Lester people? I had kind of heard about it, but I got a cassette tape of it, put it in my car, and I love some of that, like Keep Me Waiting, Too Many Mondays, In the Darkness. That shit was great because it was my band. And then like I remember buying my first Kiss bootleg, like VHS, and it was the one with Deuce. It's like, well, I know Deuce from Exposed, so give me that one, you know. And it was just, I mean, there was something about that I love technology. I work in it. That's my thing. But technology's spoiled a lot of shit because I mean, just the surprise, like, you know, go into Musicland and seeing Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. Like, I thought that was coming out in Christmas. What's it doing out in Thanksgiving? Seeing, you know, Kiss Me Savannah on the Park. I mean, it's just the surprise. Now you know when everything, there's no surprises anymore. It's like wrestling. They ruin it.
Oh, yes. Too much of it.
I wouldn't trade my childhood that shit for nothing because it's like just kind of getting into Kiss. I was a Blockbuster. What's this Kiss Uncensored? What is this? What is this thing? I put it on there. I get all these late charges from Blockbuster for playing it. I have it on my freaking phone now, dude. My Kiss themed phone. I have Animalize. I mean, did you think we would have that crap, you know, 30,
Never.
40 years ago? It's crazy what technology's done.
I remember you know, getting the Animalize Uncensored from Blockbuster and borrowing somebody else's VCR and doing the whole.
Oh, the VHS.
The statute. Gene will probably come after me now. Statute of limitations are done.
What's that warning they put on there? 1977. It's 1987. Who cares about 1977?
Exactly. But yeah, I did that. But yeah. So, number 1 for you.
Number 1 for me has to be, I was a senior in high school. Well, actually, senior, junior or senior? No, I was a junior in high school. Forever had just come out, and so this big tour was announced. And they started off in Lubbock, Texas. I had missed Kiss Crazy Nights a couple years earlier. My mom was working. I didn't have a car at the time. I was like 15 at the time. And I was like, next time they play, I'm going. So lo and behold, 2 or 3 years later, Forever comes out, Hide Your Heart, Hot in the Shade. They play Lubbock, I think, and then Houston, and then Austin was like their second. And it was so early in the tour. Hell, my mom took me. She goes, because my buddies, nobody was old enough to drive at the time, right? So I was like 17 at the time. It's like, well, I'll go with you. It's Austin. It's 45 minutes away. So we went up there, and it was so early in the tour that they still were selling the Kiss Crazy Nights programs.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have the Hot in the Shade ones yet. So I bought that one, you know, and I bought it. And it's, of course, you were here because you wanted the best, you know, and it's that whole thing. And I remember it was the Frank Irwin Center, which is still here. I actually saw that on the farewell tour of the same place, thinking, it's the last time I went to see them. Right. So they came out and they played I Stole Your Love. It was so
let off with it, opened up with it.
It was so loud. I go, what the hell is this? I couldn't hear it. But it was my second concert I've ever gone to. The first one was White Snake, and I'll slip of the tongue. And I got to meet Tawny Kitaen, so like, it's gonna take a lot to top that shit. So, but I mean, Kiss was so loud. I think it was Slaughter.
Yeah.
I don't know where that shirt is, and I've been trying to find it online, but they never get the great one. But I mean, talk about being a Kiss fan at the time. I mean, they were that was probably, that's my top thing because I saw them for the first time. I missed them in 87, but goddamn, I saw them in 89 and 90. I saw them twice. So yeah, my, first time. I mean, that's, it's like they said on Detroit Rock City, man, this is better than the first time I got to finger a chick.
Okay. Leon Spinks. I wonder how long it took people to put that together. Some people probably still haven't put together why they call him Leon Spinks. But anyway.
Don't you remember that too? Also, that when Headbangers Ball went on the road with them too, they were in Lubbock. When it happened and stuff.
The set list is probably one of the best set lists for Hot and Shade Tour. Was probably one of the best set lists they ever did. Going through it right now, I mean, you had a little bit of everything. Like you said, open up with "I Stole Your Love." Then Deuce is either always. It seems like it's always first or second. Deuce, Heaven's on Fire, Crazy Crazy Nights, Black Diamond in the fifth. Shout It Out Loud, Strutter, Calling Dr. Love, Rise to It, I Was Made for Loving You, Fits Like a Glove, Hide Your Heart, Lick It Up, God of Thunder, Forever, Cold Gin, Tears Are Falling, I Love It Loud, Love Gun, and Detroit Rock City.
Fits Like a Glove, man. That'd probably be the last tour they did that on.
Yeah, that was.
Talk about a deep track. I love that song.
Yeah. But, that right there, watching, because when we talked about the tape trading thing, when I got you could pick, like I said, the catalog, you could pick from it. And I said, well, you know what? I haven't seen a Hot in the Shade tour. Looking at that show, and I was like, God, no, they played a little bit of everything up here. That's one of my favorite live shows to watch right there.
One of the best one is the Auburn Hills from Michigan. Yeah, that's like one of the best ones. Yeah.
That's it.
I think they released that as official off Kissology, didn't they?
Yep.
Because I had that one on cassette for a while.
Yeah, that year getting that, I got Hot in the Shade for Christmas that year. And I remember, I was one that always went through the liner notes, and usually Kiss's liner notes were like, not real thick. You had the lyrics. This one was like, and it had like, I want to say it had like a public service announcement in there for maybe I'm wrong, but I want to say it was for like condoms or something like that.
It had an AIDS thing because I guess I lost a lot of friends with AIDS. Yeah, remember that.
Yeah, and there was a lot in there about that, but yeah, that was. I mean, you sit back and listen to Hot in the Shade now. It
could have been better.
Everybody talks about it's filler, a lot of filler in there, but I
love it. I love it.
I love Hot in the Shade.
I love what's it called? I love Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell. I love Betrayed. I love
a lot of people don't like Betrayed, but I like
it. That's on. I was funny. I was listening to Creatures box set, and I'm like, oh shit, goes way back then, huh?
Yep.
Well,
Not the same betrayed. You know that, right?
no, I know. I'm just saying, but that song title was around.
Yeah. All right. So my number one, and I'm gonna tie all of this into one. Uh, we talked about the unplugged earlier, but I just remember I was actually, I think I've told the story before. I was on the phone, and this was when you had the cordless phone on the phone.
How
TV,
high tech were we back then, Stevie?
yeah, TV was on for some reason. What and I think they had billed. Kiss was gonna be on the Grammys, but they were showing. When they showed it, it was Gene and them playing in the unplugged thing when they were showing the preview of it. Never in a million years thought I'd see what I saw.
With
Uh,
Tupac.
on the phone with this girl, and here comes Tupac out there. We're gonna shock the people. So let's shock the people. And then you see them come out in makeup, and I'm like, all I could say was, "Holy shit!" And she was like, "What? What?" I said,
I call you
uh,
back. I call you back.
I said, I gotta go. So I got off the phone with her, which I mean, nothing ever came with that, of course, because I guess she thought I was a kiss T then.
Odd.
Anyway, then you're sitting there waiting. I mean, everything starts really catching up, and then the reunion press conference on the Intrepid.
Conan O'Brien.
Ryan, and then Kiss was all over the place after that. I mean, and then I remember actually the news. Maybe maybe it was a Friday when they played the Tiger Stadium. Was it a Friday?
It sold out like real quick though, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it sold out in no time. But I remember, like, it seems like I remember like a Saturday morning before I went to work. The local news was on, and near the end of the telecast, like they had 30-minute. They showed news 30-minute blocks, but near the end of it, they showed clips of them at Tiger Stadium, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this it's happened? And then, the whole thing, you follow along, like with the Kiss, like I said, the chat room and AOL. I remember
Kiss chat room.
several nights people coming in there after they gone to a concert, talking about the concert. One night they talked about Ace falling, and everybody was saying, "Oh, he's fell off the wagon again." And then the night that Peter didn't play, his drum tech played. They were like, they kicked
Remember
Peter
that.
out of the band, and it was a big argument in the
But
chat
that
room.
was like the start of the rumor, the internet. That's why a lot of that shit
Yeah.
happened is the internet.
Yeah. But then, that whole year, getting all the Kiss stuff, and just
They
getting
were bigger than I can remember them because I remember, 10 years earlier, oh, Kiss sucks, they're not that good.
everybody.
And all these people that gave me shit for liking Kiss in the 80s, they were automatically fans all of a sudden. Like,
Oh
what
yeah.
the? And then you had all these grunge bands to the detriment of Rolling Stone that loved Kiss.
Oh yeah.
Nirvana, Alice in Chains,
Alice in Chains. I
Pearl
remember.
Jam. Hell, Pearl Jam's that one song, Alive, sounds like freaking what's that Kiss song? I forget the name of that instrumental. But Kiss was bigger, and it was really kind of weird to me because, like, wow, they're my favorite band.
Yeah, you're like
They're not really my favorite band anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I was like, this is my band. This has been my band, and now everybody is seeing, that they're cool. And
They
then
were huge. They were huge.
and then the excitement of it for that. Not that I wasn't excited. It was I wasn't old enough to really get into it back when in the 70s. I got into it because I was wearing Kiss stuff. I had Kiss Halloween costume. I had everything Kiss. But to be old enough to understand, okay, they're kicking. Then the home video, The Second Coming comes out. I had to go buy that. And then they played the Brooklyn Bridge for MTV. And I remember watching that night. And when they signed off, and they were rolling the credits, you see them flash back. You see Ace up there, like, singing. And I'm like, they're playing a freaking show. which it was a mini show. But I after I told that guy that I dealt with as far as the video stuff, I said, if you get a copy of that Brooklyn Bridge show, let me know. I will order a copy of that. And it wasn't like a week later. Brooklyn Bridge show, and I've got that. I've actually got that on audio too. One of the best versions of Rock and Roll All Night you ever hear.
I remember that.
Electric.
I remember those, like all those, like they'd had those fanzines come out at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'd have all these like shows they would sell, like the bootleg tapes and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah. The tape trade, like you said. But I remember I went to see Kiss and the reunion tour. They played San Antonio, and it was like, I mean, I was disappointed. After seeing the Kiss show.
Right.
Of course, I love Gene and Paul, but I was more of an 80s guy. I mean, I still loved it. Don't get me wrong.
I know. It's always
it wasn't my Kiss. It wasn't it, and even today, like, it's got Gene and Paul, and I was a Gene and Paul guy because I got into the band earlier. I mean, later, if I would have got earlier, like it would have been like probably an Ace guy like you. But it was like, you know what? And I just, like I do it now, I look at them now, they're a nostalgia band. But it's like when I saw them in Austin a couple years ago. They played Austin last week, but I'm glad I didn't buy tickets because I got real sick and I had to call it sick the next day. But it was like, it's like, enjoy it. You just, enjoy what you got. The best, to me, the best days were the 80s. A lot of people won't say that, but I get, the thing that the makeup is why they're still around today. And I know that, two of them, you can look at those pictures with, hell, you're sitting next to Daisy Fuentes. You're trying to do a smile. Come on, dude. Come on, Paul.
Exactly.
But it's like a job to them. To us, I mean, they could go on another few years and they probably still play a lot of shows because, I would probably go. But you can just tell it's time. But to me, it's been kind of the end for, since 96. It was cool and everything. And I saw them on the farewell tour and stuff. But man, it's what a hell of a run, man. What a ride. And it made me feel good saying, see, this is the band that fucking when nobody was there seeing them play, I was behind.
That's right.
And they're fucking playing stadiums now. Fuck you.
Well, I'll say this. All through the years, every lineup change, I was always like, okay, I'm behind them. Whatever they got up there, I'm behind them. Even, was I upset with the makeup thing with Tommy and Eric? Yeah, at first, I was like, that's just, but, big freaking deal. After going to see them live, they were on point that night. I can't say anything about it, but this is always, for 45 years, been my favorite band.
Wow.
And always will be, but it's coming to the end now, and it's I don't know how it's going to be. I mean, you think of it, Kiss is as long as I can remember, Kiss has always been there, and I mean they'll still be there because you still got all that stuff you can look at, but it's just going to be weird. Going to be weird after that last show's over with.
It's what, less than 2 months away, bro?
Yeah,
or a little bit over 2 months.
Less than a month.
Less than a month. What am I saying?
That's in a month, dude. Yeah. And I just wonder how. I know, we talked about Paul's ready to go. Paul's ready for it to be over with. Gene, I don't think Gene's going to let it go. I think Gene's going to be pushing Kiss stuff at the Yin Yang. I hope Gene will be pushing Kiss videos out.
Hope we'll do some tours with that band. I like that band.
Oh, yeah, that band is awesome. But from now, our plan from here on out, from here till actually to the end of the year, is to do every week we'll be doing Kiss themed episodes, whether it's a top 10 list or top 5 list like we had tonight, or just discussing an album or whatever, talking about actually or putting together what we think, what we would love, not to say that's going to happen, the set list to be for that last night. That would be something interesting there that you could put. You'd have to put something, each song from every era of Kiss. I know it's
I
not going
know.
to. And to get our thoughts on what we think is going to actually happen that night, that's going to be stuff we talk about in the next.
What happened the night before?
Well, you can't really say that because December 1st and 2nd are going to be the ones in Madison Square Garden. So maybe
It's just weird to me that they're ending it in December. I mean, it's fucking Kiss, man. You ended up on a fucking New Year. I mean, that's when you started. That's when you ended. You started in 1973. You end in 2023. Right?
That would be a good idea. 50 years. Good things happen in 1973. I mean,
Not as good as 72 though.
Whatever. But anyway, so guys, that's our plan from here on out. Is Kiss themed episodes, and we might have some guests coming in with us from
Not
time.
that wasn't like that before.
Yeah. But we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it strictly Kiss for the next month and a half.
17 years.
Yeah. So, any last words, Worden? Is that you?
No, I had a good time, man. I like I said, it's been a blast. It's going to be weird without Kiss, but it'll live on with our podcast, Shout Out Loud. The different podcasts out there.
Right between the eyes.
Yeah, right between. I mean, all those, because it's like hotter than hell. Three sides. Everything.
Podcast, Rock City.
Yeah, I mean, it's Kiss is. I mean, honestly, they haven't put an album that meant anything for a while. So, and we're still talking about them. So after they're gone, we'll still be talking about them.
Yep. And hopefully you'll see some more stuff coming out after this is over.
I hope so. I like to see another box set. I like to see a bunch of shit.
I'm surprised right now that they haven't talked about putting that last concert somewhere where like pay-per-view or something like that.
Well, the buy operators are still standing by. Get your to buy stuff now.
Bad word. That's a bad word to say to Kiss fans, is to buy. Goodbye, Dubai. That's what you might as well say. Goodbye to Dubai. But
I can't believe that was like 3 years ago. It's like, wow, time just goes by so quick.
That and that freaking Magic book that everybody
Magic.
They are sore subjects right there.
That guy doesn't even like update anymore, right?
He's probably disappeared. As many people.
I don't know how you can get away with that. How there's a lawsuit about that. I mean, my God, people sue over the littlest thing nowadays. Why, you don't get your money? Shit, 100 something. It was like $100-200, right, for that book or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that's why if it's not on Amazon, I'm probably not going to buy
it. Yep, I'm the same way. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. And we will see you next week. And it'll be Kiss themed again next week. We'll be coming up with, we'll update you on what the show will be about. Like I said, we may have a guest pop in from time to time on here to share some Kiss stuff with us too. But you guys have a great week, and be sure to check us out. Check our YouTube channels out. Check our Facebook pages. Go ahead, tell all things
rock, hard rock, and metal, and that 80s page,
and on the Fly page. And check out our new sidecast, guys. The Triple Threat main event. We just did our first episode with the Hitman from Down Under, Jack Pinocchio. If you don't want, and look, I'm scared to death Pinocchio is going to kill himself out there with the football field. But that guy has no fear on the football field.
He's a long way away from us, Stevie. I think we'll be okay.
If you haven't seen that, the highlights Pinocchio puts up, you need to go check him out. But yeah, we had a ball with that, and we'll be recording some more episodes of that coming up real soon. But you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week on The Fly.